So you need a little help writing the Common App essay, huh? Well, if you give me 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 5 great tips that are going to take and make your essay so much better. At the end of that, I'm going to give you a link that's going to show you how to make a good essay great. So let's get started. The first tip to writing a better Common App essay is to share your hero's journey. So this is a personal question, right? All of these topics are asking something about you, how you've responded, what did you do, all of that. So you got to share that with them. But don't share too much. We don't need to know every step in how you bake a cake. We just need to know that, hey, I gathered the ingredients, I mixed them, I put it in the oven, and then at the end, I got this awesome thing, right? That's your story. You only have 650 words, so we don't need every detail. We just need an idea of what happened so that you use that, right? Your story is the vehicle, takes you from one thing to the next. We need to see how that went so we really get an idea of who you are. Best way to reveal who you are? Reveal some conflict. All of these topics lend themselves to showing some sort of conflict, but most importantly, it's not the conflict, it's how you responded, right? So, CTA, call to action. Was there something that you felt compelled that you had to step up? A kid was getting bullied, there was a problem with a teacher or a coach, there was an issue at school and you felt the need to rise up and do something, right, to make it better. That's a great one. Was there a time where you avoided conflict? Hey, you're just a teenager, you're growing up. It's okay to reveal that you need to learn more. And this was a terrific experience because I screwed up, I shrunk from the conflict, but now I'm gonna know next time I see that, I'm gonna know how to react. Or finally, hey, I lead a conflict-free life. And that's a problem because I recognize that I haven't done enough growing and that I need an experience like college to put myself into these small situations so that I can grow, so that when I go into the workforce and out into my life, I'm ready to go. So make certain that you reveal your conflict. Tip number 2 is to showcase your emotional intelligence. So this is a fancy buzzword that's been going around lately, and this emotional intelligence is you understanding who you are and what you have. So as I mentioned earlier, you're a work in progress. And it's okay to accept that. In fact, showing that you're a work in progress is revealing your emotional intelligence, as is recognizing your self-awareness. There are kids smarter than me, there are kids better than me. I'm also better than some kids, right? So knowing where you fit into that world is showing some level of emotional intelligence. Self-regulation. Hey, was there a time where you took the call to action, but maybe you went too far, you were too aggressive, you did too much? Okay, I recognize that. All right, I'm not going to do so much next time. Or, gosh, I didn't do enough and then I beat myself up over it for weeks, months, or years. Yeah, so you overdid it. Okay, so now as you're getting older, you're regulating. So that's a good level of emotional intelligence to reveal in your essay. Motivation. Listen, I have to self-motivate sometimes. Sometimes I'm human. I need someone else to motivate me. And then I'm also really good at motivating others, right? Another critical element, empathy. One of those things that happens as you get older, you've had more life experience, you recognize that there are times where you're going to see a situation that you've been in, that now you see someone else and that you can help them. And then finally, social skills. College is a very social place, and so this is going to be a place that you're going to want to say, I've gone through, I've had some struggles with friends, but I've figured out how to do that and work through those problems, and now I'm in a real comfortable spot. Those are going to be all great issues to show, to exhibit your emotional intelligence. Tip number 3 is to focus in on the rhythm of the writing. All too often, and I've seen this for years teaching English, that students, when they want to spice something up, they throw in a big fancy word. They run to the thesaurus. Often a horrible choice because you don't actually know how to use that word properly. So what I tell people is that your rhythm is more important than word choice. And if it's good enough for Nike, it's good enough for you. So too often, students will write long sentence, long sentence, long sentence, long sentence. Well, imagine if we were just to go in and vary that up. And maybe you put in a short sentence there to start something off. Just boom, hits them right out of the gate. Then you go through and you talk about the story, and then maybe instead of having a long, boring last sentence, we put in another short one. And if we think about Nike, right, one of the greatest marketing slogans ever is just do it. So if you take a look at a Nike commercial, maybe there's a little short snippet, then they're going to talk about the athlete's progress and everything they've done, and then the final scene is just maybe those 3 words, just do it. Again, good enough for Nike, good enough for you. Tip number 4, keep your focus narrow and personal. So you have 7 essay topics to select one, and you've got to write 650 words. 650 words goes by pretty quickly when you start really getting into all of these other aspects that we talked about. So make certain that you only pick one specific narrow part to focus in on in your life, whatever that is, and make certain that you make it very personal. You really need to reveal your soul. So make this essay as personal as possible, and think of this as therapy. You want to tell these people things that you would be bashful about telling your friends or your parents. Now, you're not looking to shock them, but you're really looking to tell them, hey, this is what I'm afraid of, or this is what I want to do. Any of these things are all going to be the best way to make your essay personal. Tip number 5, make certain you include an intriguing intro and a simple conclusion. You need to capture their attention, right? That is the most important thing. So you've always been taught, oh, have an attention getter, have something, a hook that's going to go through and really grab the reader's attention. Well, it doesn't have to be that fancy. It could actually be just the carving up of the words that you've selected, and then you position that first so it leads the reader to want to read more. That's all you need to do. You don't need to shock them. You just need that first sentence to capture their attention and have it be interesting enough to read more. So sometimes taking a sentence from the middle of a paragraph and putting that at the very beginning leads this, oh, it's an intrigue. What am I going to do? So after you've captured their attention, you write their story, you need a very simple conclusion. But make certain whatever you do not add more material to your conclusion. A conclusion is just a stop sign. It's letting the reader know, hey, I'm all done. As a reader, we want to be fulfilled, and we want that strong introduction, the story, and then that conclusion. All right, your bonus conclusion tip for today's video? Sometimes your very best introduction is your conclusion. So this is the thing that I've learned from years and years of reading and editing papers from my students, that when you start your paper out, you don't really know where you're going. And as you start writing and you start having all of these different ideas, towards the end, you really have a great idea of what your essay is about, and you write this killer conclusion. Well, what I've seen is the very best introduction that we can have is to take that conclusion, move it from the bottom to the top, and now you've got this killer introduction, but you've left without any sort of conclusion. That's okay. Again, a conclusion just needs to let the reader know you're all done and you're just summing up. It doesn't have to be this awesome thing. But if we don't capture their attention in that first couple of sentences, there's a good chance they may not read further. Okay, now that you have some strategies and tips on how to write a better Common App essay, let's dig into the first prompt. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. All right, let's just get this out of the way with prompt number 1 was not a good one for me. I'm just not that interesting. I don't think I have a special talent. There are a number of things that I can do, but special and something that the school's got to know. I was just a run-of-the-mill kid, right? Played sports, was in student government, tried to get good grades, had friends, blah, 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 blah. So this is not a good essay topic for a lot of kids. However, there are a number of students that fit each one of these different aspects perfectly, and you should write about this. So if you have a background, this could be, hey, that I have come from another country, or I have a religious upbringing that is so different than, say, the culture that you're in. It's not bad, not good, just different, right? That's the critical thing. Share that background. Explain what that is, but most importantly, share the struggles that you had, right? Talk about that emotional intelligence. How did it make you feel to be different? How did you work to overcome that? Your identity. Maybe you're a student that identifies differently than from other people. Share that story, share that growth, but make certain that it is very personal and very revealing. And there is often anguish and pain that is associated with having that identity and feeling that you are different, or your struggle to normalize whatever that is and whatever that means to you. Share that information, again, using that emotional intelligence, those couple of guides. You don't have to write about all of them, but if you include some of these, this is going to be very strong. If you have an interest or a talent. So what's interesting is that a number of years ago, I had a student of mine who was voicing characters for Pixar movies. He was the little kid in a very famous series that you would know. So he said that he wanted to write about that because that's his talent. And, I had to say, listen, that's not a special talent. They just had a voice, right? And you just got in front of a microphone, you just read. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I'm there and I have all these famous actors and there's all this equipment, and I had to perform and I had to learn how to do my lines without making a mistake and being good. And if I screwed up, I had to get back on track. I didn't have a chance to kind of get derailed. I couldn't be a kid. I had to really grow up and be an adult because there were all these people and all this money kind of waiting on me. That was a great essay because his talent was not his voice. His talent was learning how to deal with pressure when he was just a young man, and dealing with that pressure then allowed him to work his way through high school and come up with a number of different strategies whenever he struggled with friends or a relationship or a teacher or a grade, right? He knew how to handle that stress. So what I often tell students, all you need is something very small. And from that, you can then weave out a really great story and make that bigger. So don't feel that your background, identity, your interest, or talent has to be this mammoth thing. It could be something very small, and if you approach it right way and use those tips that I talked about earlier, you're going to have a great, great essay. Okay, thanks for checking out my video. This was just a start. This is a great way to improve your essay, but if you want to take your essay from good to great, make certain that you check out the essay that I have on how to write a great Common App essay. Good luck.